everybody. Welcome to another episode of What I Watched This Week. I'm going to start by talking about the Tyson Jake Paul fight. I don't generally watch boxing, but I was going to just give in to the FOMO and watch the fight. And there was fight after fight. I mean, usually that happens in boxing where there are all these fights before the main fight. Had I known that the most entertaining fight between the two women, that was going to be the one that was the most entertaining, because by the time the Tyson and Paul fight started, I was so tired. But then watching it, why did this fight happen? Why did Tyson agree to this fight? I mean, obviously, it has to be for the money, but why for Jake Paul? Like, nothing about him to me is likable, and it just wasn't entertaining. It just seemed so weird. Like, okay, you won, but you won against the 58-year-old. And, I'm the person that decided to watch the fight. That was my bad. Like, why did I do that? Did anybody else watch that? What did you think? Okay. I watch a lot of cult documentaries. I'm obsessed with them. And there's this 4-episode documentary on HBO Max called Breath of Fire, about these group of, it's yoga, kind of like there was a yoga doc that was on Netflix a couple of years ago, I think during the pandemic or so, but it's a Kundalini yoga, I guess, and they came up with a whole scheme. They're part of the people who do the yogi tea, if you're familiar with it. And there was just a whole bunch of scheming going on. Basically, this man came from India, and just because he had a beard, everyone assumed that he was a yogi, and he just ran with it and then started a whole thing. And the main character kind of is a lady named Katie. She's a white lady named Katie who kind of learned everything. She started with astrology, but kind of rose in the ranks and, changed her name. I think it was, forgive me, I should have gotten her name, but she gave herself a name, and there was just a bunch of lies in there. And basically, she was the scapegoat for everything that was going on. And there was a lot of abuse and a lot of terrible things that were going on. So it's just talking about people who didn't know that they were in a cult, who didn't know they were being overworked and not being paid. And there's also an angle of, someone who it is actually, part of their culture, and just talking about the cultural appropriation of it all, because you do see a whole bunch of white people who are giving themselves like, ethnic names and wearing, turbans and things like that. So it was quite fascinating. I wouldn't say it's exactly one of the best documentaries that I've watched, but it's just always fascinating to me how these people never practice what they preach, which should be the first telltale sign that they're fake. And so that was something that I watched. I'm also watching Love is Blind Australia. So I do watch at least 3 of the franchises of the countries. I don't think anything will ever beat the first season of Love is Blind Australia, because it was so great. And it kind of has gone downwards ever since then. And now they're in season 6. I skipped the last 2 seasons. Like, I started and it was boring and I just stopped. But this season I wasn't even going to start, especially when I saw they were bringing back someone from Love is Blind USA, and then Sydney, of all people, who is not, captivating by any means. And actually, she's struggling this season and nothing is happening for her. And Steph from Love Island Wars is also there from Love is Blind France. And it's been entertaining so far, actually. I think the difference with Love is Blind Australia is they decided to not do it live. So the people are not, the public, as they call it, are not involved, and they don't get to vote and they don't get to do anything. I will say they have been pretty clever with how they choose to get people dumped and get people out. It's been pretty creative the way they do it. But I will say the girls this season, most of them are kind of like mean girlish, and that's never fun to watch. And then there's a particular girl who's so young, and then she keeps crying and crying and crying, and that's exhausting to watch. And it's kind of like they don't understand what this show is about. You have to date other people, but they start being possessive and they haven't even been there that long. But yeah, I think that's showing on Hulu. If you are interested in watching that, you can check that out. I want to talk about a show that I think is definitely hands down one of the best shows that I've watched this year, and it's Culinary Class Wars. It's a Korean reality cooking competitive show on Netflix that I found so amazing. I don't always like the Korean reality shows because of the way it's edited. They do this thing where they always repeat what they say, and they kind of have weird camera angles and styles. And I know a lot of people liked Physical 100. I couldn't finish it because of that. It's produced by the same people, but this was just amazing. And I think part of what made it amazing is, first of all, the casting was crazy. I don't know how they got 100 Korean chefs to be in this show at the same time. The casting was just great. There was a lot of respect among each other. There was a lot of confidence. Like, it's just always great to watch people who are good at what they do, confident at what they do, and have a passion for what they do. The budget was out the wazoo because they got to cook in, like, they even said it, that the industrial kitchens and everything like that was like top grade. And some said like this was better than their actual kitchen. The competitions, the way they, decided to keep it fair, because there were 80, they call them black spoon chefs, which are like the chefs that are not so popular, and then 20 white spoon chefs, which are like the popular chefs. We even have Chef Edward Lee, who's from America. And then they have two judges who are completely different. One, Chef An, who is really into fine dining and is very strict and just very respected because he has a 3 Michelin star restaurant in Korea. And then we have Chef Park, who is more, I don't want to say local, but he's more, he's well known in Korea, but he's more about the taste and flavor and getting Korean food to be more palatable to the world. So they have completely different tastes, but they are both really good and very, very knowledgeable about food. I don't know how they judge these things because they ate a lot of food, and they don't take like little bites, like in Top Chef where they take one little bite and then that's it. They eat like hearty amounts, and their foods are rich and spicy. I was getting heartburn just watching them eat the food. And in one competition, all they had to cook was tofu, and they had to have many, many rounds of that. They ate so much tofu. I just don't know how they did it. But anyways, I love this show so much, and it was such a great binge and such a great watch. And I do recommend that to everyone. The final show I'm going to talk about is Real Housewives of Potomac. I'm only talking about it because the new season is back. I'm enjoying the season. I'm enjoying Stacey as a new addition. She's so clueless that it is cute, but also refreshing after the dark seasons that we've had. And this episode was just really fun. I think it was the last day of their trip in North Carolina. And it's kind of nice to see Wendy not being on the defensive. She has been on the defensive for the last few seasons. And them just showing her love and just being around. Giselle should have had this truce a long time ago because it is such a difference. I don't know what's going on with Mia, but Mia is embarrassing to say the least, and just walking in Delulu land. I think at some point maybe it could have been entertaining, but it's not at this point. If she's embarrassing, I don't know what Jacqueline is, because Jacqueline is just, I don't know if she's socially awkward and just happy to be Mia's purse. But we've seen y'all fight, so when they start to say, oh, I'm defending her and doing all that, it just falls flat for me. So that's embarrassing. I find it so amusing the way Jassy hates Ashley. So she's just always coming for her. And they're just, trying to get Karen down and all that stuff. But Karen is always ready for them. I'm a Karen fan, so, again, support her rights and wrongs. But in general, it's just been an easy season compared to the rest of them. And this episode just was not warm and fuzzy for me. And I really liked it. So I hope they continue on that and they have a good season. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I hope Candace comes back. Those are all the shows I watch. I do want to mention that I tried and started to watch Eat, Slay, Love on Peacock, but it wasn't working for me. I don't know if I'm going to pick it back up, but if anyone watched that, let me know if it gets better and I might give it a chance. Okay. Well, guys, that's all I watched this week. Let me know what you watched and let me know what you'd like me to check out. Have a good week. Bye, guys.